So why don't we get going? I know that other people will pop on as we continue, but welcome to our Sunday service for One Heart, One Mind. We have the blessing of having the Levins here with us this morning. And so they're going to start us off with a beautiful song. So take it away.
Woohoo. All right. Good morning, everybody. My thoughts and my body are not me. I can play them both like a violin. Their melody reminds me of who I am and where I've been. I once saw a fish in a tall tree. When he saw me, he began to grin. He said, "Your melody reminds me there's water in air," and he started to swim. I'm barely contained, you can't buy how I feel. I give it away, I'm a bright summer day with the colors of fall. I'm all things at once and I'm nothing at all. Well, I used to think power was outside and that strength was just a muscle show. But strength funnels through from the inside. I can bench press the world by just letting go. I once saw a rose in an old book. When she saw me, she began to grin. She said, "Your melody reminds me of happier times," and she blossomed again. I'm barely contained, you can't buy how I feel. I give it away, I'm a bright summer day with the colors of fall. I'm all things at once and I'm nothing at all. Now breathing, it's more than a pastime. It's a fine line and you can't hold on. Laughing is healing and loving is really a wind chime. It's a song. I'm barely contained, you can't buy how I feel. I give it away, I'm a bright summer day with the colors of fall. I'm all things at once and I'm nothing at all. I'm all things at once and I'm nothing. I'm all things at once. My thoughts and my body are not me. I can play them both like a violin. Their melody reminds me of who I am and where I've been.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I particularly like the line of I'm everything and nothing all at once. I love that. I don't know exactly how it was.
All things at once and nothing at all.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
That's like when the Dalai Lama goes to the hot dog vendor and says, "Make me one with everything."
That's it.
That's good. I like that joke.
It's a good one. And he gives him $20. And he says, "How about the change?" And he goes, "Yes, change comes from within."
That's great. See, we're already doing humor. So our practitioner of the day today is Ralane Clarke. I'm going to invite her to do our opening prayer, and she sent me some wonderful quotes to share as well. Welcome, Ralane.
Thank you. All right, so let's just close our eyes and feel the presence of Spirit, that very big smile of God. And just know that it is in and of and through each and every one of this smiling energy of goodness and happiness and joy and peace and ease. And I know that everyone here that is a part of this service is interconnected with the larger smiling energy of God. And those that couldn't be here are a part of that too. They're with us. And so I know this service is really fun and great and meaningful and special, and that the connection between each and every one of us is strengthened. And I know that the music is wonderful, and Reverend Michelle's talk is great. And each and every one of you, your presence and beingness is important and valued as well in this moment. And so I'm very grateful for this time. It's sacred and holy. And I release this prayer knowing it is already so, and so it is. Thank you, God. So I just wanted to tell a little story before my quote. Ernest Holmes had a good friend that was not feeling well, and she asked him to come over to her house for prayer. And when he arrived, she was laying there moaning with a hot water bottle on her stomach. And he found the sight of her laying there so amusing that he started laughing and he couldn't stop. She said annoyingly, "What are you laughing at?" And remember, this was a good friend of his. And yet Ernest Holmes' laughter was so contagious that she started laughing too. And they laughed together for quite a while. And when Ernest Holmes finally got down to praying with her, she said she had already felt better from all the laughter. And after his prayer was complete, she recovered quite rapidly. So here from the Science of Mind book, Ernest Holmes, under the section of How to Heal, says, "The work must not be thought of as hard. When we know that there is but one mind, we realize that this work could not be difficult or laborious. Mental treatment is a direct statement of belief into mind, coupled with a realization that the work is already an accomplished fact. The spiritual man needs no healing. Health is an omnipresent reality, and when the obstructions that hinder healing are removed, it will be found that health was there all the time." And the laughter that Ernest Holmes and his good friend shared together, I believe, loosened any obstruction that might have been in the way. And the laughter opened the way for his prayer to work and to reveal her truth of perfect healing all along, perfect health all along. And then I'd like to share another quote that I really like. And this is by Edward G. Bulwer Lytton. And he was an English novelist. And he says, "Humor is the sunshine of the mind." So let us take a moment of silence and close your eyes to imagine Ernest Holmes and his good friend laughing together before prayer, and how fun that would have been to see them being so silly. And let yourself open the curtains of fun and laughter for just a moment. Close your eyes and take a moment to feel the sunshine of humor in your mind. All right, so let us return to our Zoom room here and read the affirmation. I'll read the affirmation for this month of March. Today's spirit calls me out to play, and I answer the call. I play in the imagination and the infinite possibility of divine mind. In the freedom and expansion of play, my heart is lifted by the lightness of spirit. Today I laugh and I sing and I play and I'm joyous, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you. I loved those quotes. Thank you so much. Beautiful prayer as well. And now we have some more music from the Levins, and I'm looking for them. There they are.
Well, hello there.
I love that. Laugh and sing and play, and so we will. Woohoo. I used to think that life was just a race to reach a point called win, to be happy in the end, but the point is to begin.
Every day's a lifetime.
Another chance to choose
How I'll be remembered.
as a blessing or the blues. And what I have to give inside becomes a portion that I'll keep. The love that I receive becomes a harvest that I'll reap.
Let me be remembered.
As someone true,
Not for what I am alone.
but for who I am with you.
Laugh with me, and life bursts open into spring. Sing with me, see what harmony we're bringing. Hold my hand, and I will lead you to a quiet stream. Together we will understand the meaning of this dream. The meaning of this. Without you, I'm a shadow dancing in the frame of time. A scribbled line of prose, but with you an endless rhyme. Every day's a lifetime.
Another chance to choose
How I'll be
as a
remembered.
blessing or the blues.
Laugh with me, and life bursts open into spring. Sing with me, see what harmony we're bringing. Hold my hand, and I will lead you to a quiet stream. Together we will understand the meaning of this dream. The meaning of this.
A book, a song, a story. Without love, there's no glory. A
What
book, a
is the
song, a
center of
story.
it all?
Without
What
love,
is the
there's
center
no
of
glory.
it all?
A book,
What
a
is the
song,
center
a
of
story.
it all?
Without
What is
love,
the
there's
center
no
of
glory.
it all? Laugh with me, and life bursts open into spring. Sing with me, see what harmony we're bringing. Hold my hand, and I will lead you to a quiet stream. Together we will understand the meaning of this dream. The meaning of this. Laugh with me, and life bursts open into spring. Sing with me, see what harmony we're bringing. Hold my hand, and I will lead you to a quiet stream. Together we will understand the meaning of this dream. The meaning of this.
Wow. Thank you, Ira and Julia. You picked some songs with beautiful, poignant lyrics this morning.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much. And I see a few people popped on while we were in the middle of the music. So I just want to welcome everybody. Good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. I'm going to say that in my sleep and for the rest of my life. And this morning's, or actually it's this month's theme is all about play. Last week we talked all about play as a spiritual practice and how play opens us up and lifts us up. And today's topic is specifically about humor. And according to Webster, humor is the faculty of perceiving what is amusing or comical. And I think we can probably safely say that humor is an aspect of play. You know, we certainly play for fun and enjoyment and amusement. And also today's topic will focus on how humor supports our physical and our emotional and our spiritual health. Humor moves us into that sense of play. You know, when we play, we feel light and open and vital. And so this week, as always, really, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on humor and health and looking for inspiration, and I found a lot of good stuff. But one thing that really struck me was this quote by author and humorist Garrison Keillor. I actually want to share it with you because I don't usually haven't actually been putting them up on the screen recently, but I really want us to hear this because this really hit me. I thought this was just really true. And Garrison Keillor, you probably know him from Prairie Home Companion. He wrote this: humor is not a trick. It's not jokes. Humor is a presence in the world like grace that shines on everybody. Oh, I love that. A presence in the world like grace that shines on everybody. And really, one of the reasons that really struck with me or, hit me is because it reminded me that humor is a quality of the divine, much more than just a joke or a funny story, although jokes and funny stories will get us to humor. But humor is a quality of being human. It's an attitude. It's a way to engage with life. And I'm sure you know people who have a great sense of humor, who don't take things too seriously and have the ability to laugh at themselves and to laugh with others, not at others. People that just kind of have that humorous perspective of life in general. Maybe it's you. I don't know. I think a lot of us do. I'd like to think that I live that way. But sometimes we might find ourselves letting the weight of the world, the weight of life's problems and challenges begin to kind of weigh us down. We're human. And having a humorous perspective on life certainly doesn't mean that we don't think deeply about things, that we aren't introspective, and that we don't have moments of quiet contemplation and that deep connection to the divine within us. It just means that we understand that while life is serious business, it's also to be enjoyed. Work is to be enjoyed. Spiritual practice is to be enjoyed. Being in community is to be enjoyed. Being in service and giving to others is to be enjoyed. Life in general is much more enjoyable when we trust in the divine order and the divine harmony and the flow of life. And play and humor as a spiritual practice moves us into that ease, that flow, that easy flow of life. And it supports us in participating in that flow, and especially when we step into a deep faith and a deep trust in that presence, in God, in spirit, whatever name we want to call it. Emma Curtis Hopkins told us that there is a good for me and I ought to have it. And we can enjoy our way into that good. That last part was mine. She didn't say that, but I think we can. We can enjoy and flow our way into the good. I'm kind of a wordy. You know, I love words, and I like to know where words come from. So often I'll look up words that are part of the talk title, the message of the day. You know, I like to know what the etymology or the origin is. So I looked up humor. And humor has an interesting origin. Humor originally means fluid, of all things, flow, which seemed odd to me at first until I heard the rest of the story. In the 14th century, humor morphed into an old French word, humor. It's spelled almost the same, not quite. I'm sure it's not pronounced the same, but the definition, get this, the definition became the fluid or juice of an animal or a plant. Isn't that kind of cool? Physicians in the 14th century believed that there were 4 humors or fluids that flow through the human body to keep it healthy. The 4 humors were not exactly fun things to think about. There were, well, blood, which is okay, but phlegm and yellow bile and black bile. Not exactly fun fluids to think about, but you know, fluids nonetheless. And it was believed that the proportions or the balance of these humors, fluids, are what contribute to both physical and emotional health. So originally, if we said that you were in good humor, it didn't mean that someone was just in a good mood, but that the fluids in their body were balanced and healthy. It meant that their body was literally in balance and healthy flow, which I find really interesting. Because, you know, in Science of Mind, we often talk about how we stand in the divine flow and we move with the effortless flow of spirit. And we do that physically, emotionally, and spiritually because we know that it's all God. So, you know, really, when you stop and think about how you feel when you're in good humor, when you feel alive and vital and healthy, when you're in a good mood, you feel like you're in the flow of life. You know, you feel light and open and positive and creative. Things feel possible. You know what I mean? Everything looks like it can be done. You can find a way forward. You know, it changes your perspective from seeing the glass as half empty to seeing the glass as half full. Humor, laughter, levity, it opens us up to new ideas and new experiences. It changes our perspective. One of the many quotes that I ran across in my YouTube experience this week was one by evangelist Billy Graham. He understood how humor opens people up. And he said this, I thought this was really pretty brilliant, actually. He said, I give them something to laugh at, and then while their mouths are open, I give them something to chew on. So, isn't that the truth? That the difficult challenges we face in life are much easier to embrace, to digest, when we're in the state of grace that we call humor. Yeah, even understanding who we are and our relationship with the divine is just much easier when we're in that elevated state through humor, play. It's much like gratitude. Gratitude gets us there as well. And one of my favorite stories is the one where the kindergarten teacher sees one of her little students drawing a picture, and she asks the little girl, what are you drawing? And the little girl replies, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher says, well, you know, no one really knows what God looks like. And the little girl, without missing a beat, replies, well, they will in a minute. That one always makes me laugh. She was sure she knew. She was playing and diving into that place of God in her. I love that story. You know, it's fun. It's wonderful to have a sense of humor about the mysteries of life, you know, the unknowns, the unexpected things that come our way in our humanness. You know, that's the power of humor, the power of the medicine of humor, which is actually the talk title, that humor is the medicine. It's the medicine of humor. The spoonful of sugar of humor is, as what was Mary Poppins said, I couldn't think of her name. And humor, laughter in particular, has been shown to be good for our physical health for a long time, apparently for a very long time, because I found a quote from the Old Testament in Proverbs that says, A merry heart makes the body healthy, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. It's pretty drastic. Dries up the bones. I don't want my bones to be dry. So I'm going to have a merry heart, at least to the best of my ability. You know, you've probably heard the story about Norman Cousins, who cured himself of this crippling form of arthritis by watching hours and hours of old Three Stooges movies. And I told you I ran across a lot of really good resources. Musician Carlos Santana, who is a very devoted meditator, he said this, I love this: a gut-busting round of laughter is worth more than a month of sitting on a mat. So, oh, I love that. Lots of good one-liners from those YouTube videos. You know, and there really are lots and lots of health benefits from humor and laughter. Scientists tell us that laughter decreases the stress hormones in our body, increases the infection-fighting antibodies, and it releases a whole medicine chest full of feel-good chemicals. And you know, we love those feel-good chemicals. It sends oxygen to our tissues, it increases our pulse and our heart rate. One study even suggests that it burns calories. I like that idea. Treadmill or laughing? I know which one I prefer to do. I could do a good hearty guffaw and not get on the treadmill in the morning. Ernest Holmes tells us that we heal thoughts, not people. And we know that healing begins in creating new patterns of thoughts and feelings, and that our spiritual being itself, and this was in the quote that Ralane shared, our spiritual being is never sick. It's never ill. There's never anything wrong with it. And as we move into the flow to express that, our physical health, our emotional health just radiates that wholeness and that completeness. So what if we think of play, humor, and laughter as a spiritual practice similar to gratitude? We know gratitude refocuses us and facilitates new patterns of thinking and feeling that lead to new behaviors and to new experiences and new states of being. Humor and laughter and play do exactly the same thing as gratitude. They're kind of, I would call it an effortless way to change our state of being. And we know that it's our state of being that demonstrates in our world. It's an effortless way to open up to the flow of life. You know, I always think about my parents when I think of using humor to get through tough life challenges. You know, some of the most difficult times I watched my parents go through, and there were many, were peppered with humor. And that really did make all the difference for them in their lives. You know, when I was, I was in the middle of high school. I just finished my sophomore year of high school, and my dad graduated from college. He got a job as an entomologist for a corporate farm up in the Central Valley of California. And so my parents put our family home in West Covina up for sale, and we packed up all our belongings, and mom and dad and the 7 kids, we all moved to Tehachapi, of all places, up in the hills outside of the desert of Mojave, which is just above the Central Valley. For some reason, they didn't want to live in the Central Valley. You know, and it was supposed to be this temporary spot until we got the house in West Covina sold, and dad got some company housing on the farm where he had gotten the job on the corporate farm. So here we were. All 9 of us were crammed into this little tiny 2-bedroom duplex, you know, and they were kind of in between paychecks and the sale of the house, not much money for food or gas or anything else. And I remember one day we as a family were all sitting around in this cramped little living room, kind of bemoaning our predicament, you know, talking about how bad things were. And my dad was sitting in this old red beat up upholstered chair. And all of a sudden, the legs of the chair broke out from underneath him and he went crashing down to the ground. And dad, rather than being upset, he had this big, humongous smile, grin on his face. And he said, well, when you're down, you're really down. And of course, everybody laughed and it lightened the mood and it was really kind of jovial. And that laughter turned everything around. You know, it was a bummer of a situation, but it changed everything. Everyone's perspective was changed in that moment. We were together. We loved each other. We had hope. And it was the humor and the laughter that turned it around. You know, and I just want to say again, remind us that I'm not suggesting that as human beings, we are not going to experience grief. We're going to have depressions and pain or suffering of some kind. We're human, you know, we might get that devastating diagnosis or experience the death of a loved one. We might lose a job or get a divorce. It's part of the journey. And those are the moments when we truly need support from our family and friends, our ministers, our practitioners, our therapists. You know, those are the times when we reach up and ask for support and let somebody else be just a loving presence for us. But sometimes things that in the moment feel like these huge challenges are really just inconveniences. You know, the people in Ukraine right now, bless their sweethearts, we send them love. They're losing their homes and their country and their lives. They have some real life challenges here. And I think it's important that we keep the smaller inconveniences in perspective. And I think humor is a really good tool to do that for us. We could use humor. We can use laughter and play as a spiritual practice. You know, another thing about humor and laughter is that they're great ways to pay it forward. You know how laughter is contagious? You know, walk into a room smiling. Some people might think you're a little crazy, but just like laughter and joy, a smile is contagious. You know, it signals an uplifted state of being. You know, have you ever been in one of those like Starbucks, or we had Dutch Brothers up in Oregon, in one of those drive-through coffee places, and the person in front of you pays for your coffee? Well, that's technically paying it backwards, not forwards, but you get the idea. Doesn't it feel great when someone does something so unexpected and generous to you? It just takes you by surprise. And doesn't it feel good when you're the one that does the unexpected thing for someone else? It feels so good. It brings a lightness and a life that feeds our soul, and it really does uplift our body. You can feel it in your body. When you greet someone with a smile on the street or in the grocery store, in the park, or anywhere, when you smile, even if it's not reciprocated, it changes the mood, just like kindness and compassion and humor and laughter. Playfulness, you know, they all pay it forward in that you are giving off something that is contagious for somebody else to receive. And at the very least, it changes us. But generally, it has an effect on everybody that we come into contact with. You know, I probably should have warned you right out of the gate that this was going to be a story day, because as I said, I've been watching the YouTube videos with wonderful stories, but also because I think that stories really illustrate the power of humor. It's difficult to just talk about it. It's one of those things where if you have a story, you're actually in the experience. So in her book, Pam Grout, this book is Thank and Grow Rich. It's a wonderful little book. It's after all of her E square and E cubed books. She wrote a book called Thank and Grow Rich, which is all about how gratitude opens us up. But she tells this great story about a physician named Ahmet Saad, a professor at the Mayo Clinic College of Medicine. I know that he was a teacher, but he was also a physician. And Dr. Saad felt that he was failing miserably at minimizing the suffering that he saw in his patients. And he says, or she writes in his book about him, that in India, where he originally trained and practiced, he felt that it was really easy to stop the suffering there because it was a different kind of suffering, he describes. You know, there he treated serious illnesses and chronic problems like malnutrition. But at the Mayo Clinic, he noticed just as much suffering, but it was a very different kind of suffering. He said, it didn't make sense to me, he said. The emotional suffering here is out of control. So he described it as being emotional trouble or suffering, not so much physical suffering. So he decided that he'd make a U-turn, and he went from internal medicine to what he calls, and listen to this because I think you will recognize it, he calls it training people's minds for a better life. Does that sound familiar at all? Training people's minds for a better life. It's a little bit like science of mind. So Saad noticed, he noticed that most of his patients spent most of their mental energy flitting from one thought to the next thought to the next thought without any real intentionality or focus. And he said that he believed that this caused the unnecessary suffering, that they weren't focused on any of the good things that were available to them in their lives. So now, instead of prescribing medicine, he trains his patients to be more intentional, to better choose where they put their attention and what they focus their thoughts and their feelings on. Yeah, so he teaches science of mind, in other words. And Pam Grout goes on to write that some may dismiss this simple medicine that restructures neural predispositions, is what she called them, except for one thing: it actually works. You know, being thankful for everything, both large things and small things, has proven to be highly effective at moving us out of the rut that our brain gets in. You know, we get into these neural ruts and we just keep repeating the same thoughts and patterns, but refocusing, gratitude, humor, play can get us out of that rut. You know, we can shift our focus, shift the energy we're carrying around, changes our perspective. And that changes our neural pathways, and it opens us up to new thoughts. And we know new thoughts opens us up to new feelings and new experiences. Who would have thunk that a doctor would have figured that out? So I've done a lot of talking about the good stuff, the benefits that humor and laughter provide, play. But now let's put some verbs in our sentences here. What are we going to do? How are we going to practice this? How are we going to practice laughter at least once a day? What are you going to do that? I mean, think about it for a minute. How long has it been since you've really, truly had a good belly laugh? I mean, just a good, hearty laugh. You know, what if we let ourselves as adults play at least once a day at just being silly? You know, just let your imagination run away with you. I do this with my husband in the morning. We make up weird stories about the people that we see, you know, that we've never met before. You know, we just practice looking at life from this comical lens. Well, maybe he's a spy. You know, well, maybe his shoes are telephones, like Get Smart. You know, just being silly and funny can just lighten us up. You know, I'm a real pragmatic person, so I do tend to get into that rut of seeing things very seriously. And yes, life can be serious business sometimes, but feels so good when I lighten up and just laugh. A good belly laugh makes you feel so good. You know, you can actually feel it in your physical body, you know, the difference. It changes your mood, it changes your thinking, makes you feel better, it makes you feel lighter. You know, and tell jokes. You know, read a joke book if you don't know any good jokes. My father was really good at remembering jokes. I'm not really quite as good, but his jokes were really corny. But you know what I think? I think sometimes we could use a little corny in our lives. From time to time, a little corny might really get us out of the seriousness. And this morning in our meditation, I did the Balinese smiling meditation. And the Balinese smiling meditation looks at all of the different parts of our body, our heart, our lungs, our stomach, our skin, our eyes, any of the parts. And we go into and focus on and imagine those organs smiling. And just, it feels so good. It lightens you up. And by the end of the meditation, you just feel like your whole body is smiling. Somebody said it felt a little bit like a workover or a tune-up. And I think that's really true. And there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about. I honestly did not even know this was the thing until I saw it on YouTube, but it's called laughter yoga. Has anybody ever heard of laughter yoga? Who knew it was even a thing? I did not know it was a thing. So laughter yoga is laughing for no reason. That here's a good way to get that belly laugh going. You know, you're not laughing at someone and you're not laughing with, well, you actually are laughing with someone, but you just start laughing. And I was watching these YouTubes, and at first everybody was kind of strained, like they're laughing for no reason. And then pretty soon you can feel the laughter becoming contagious, and everybody moves out of that awkward stage of just laughing for no reason. And pretty soon they're just all genuinely laughing. There are really a lot of YouTube videos about laughing yoga. I actually asked Jean if she'd share one in the chat for you, but it just looks fun. And there's different steps. I mean, you start out with clapping. Anyway, I'll let you explore it, but it's laughing yoga. Who knew? So this week, I invite you to put your focus on humor. What's humorous in your life? And if there is nothing humorous, make something up. Make something up that's funny and whimsical in your life. Focus on the lightness and the openness and the joy that's inherent within the natural flow and the nature of life itself. Move into that flow of trust and faith that everything actually is ordered and balanced and in harmony with the divine good that's available to us. I really do truly believe that the divine has a fabulous sense of humor. So I invite you this week to be in good humor. And with that said, in good humor, let's move into prayer. Taking in that deep, joyous, uplifting, laughing, smiling, playing breath. We move into the presence, the acknowledgement, the connection, the oneness, the experience of the all that is, and all of its wonder and awe and joy and goodness. Oh, and I know that as this is true of God, it is true of me and every single person on this call and every single life on this beautiful planet and throughout the universe. So I speak my word for and about all of these lives, that there is a shift, there is a lightness and a levity and a humor and a grace that moves us into a state of possibility, of knowing that good is here now. There is a good for us and we should have it. And God gives it freely and willingly, and we just say yes. So I open my heart in a consciousness of receiving, as well as I put it out there and pay it forward. I know that all is good and all is well and all is love. And I know that these words I speak are already on their way to becoming the experiences in our humanness. I speak my words specifically about our beloved friends in Ukraine. I am so, so grateful for their strong, courageous voices of freedom ringing out into the ethers around this planet. They are showing us what it means to be free, to stand in integrity with what we believe is true of us in the divine presence. I'm so grateful. I send my love, our blessing. We confer good and strength and oneness onto these beloved people moving through this difficult and challenging time. And all of the waves and the wrinkles that are flowing out from that activity, we know that it is the goodness that lights up the hearts of every person on this planet. So I am encouraged and uplifted. I feel the love and the freedom and the good of it all. So I just sit in gratitude. I just sit in an acknowledgement that all is well, that all is well. And with this, I relax into knowing that all is well. And we say together, and so it is. All right. Well, that was fun. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's humorous. My favorite story is the one about the little girl. Well, nobody actually knows what God looks like. Well, they will in a minute. I love that story. It's so great. Having been a kindergarten teacher, I can really relate. So this is our time of conscious giving. And Rob, you may not know it, but you're doing the benediction. And I'm going to ask you if you would mind leading the sacred time of sacred giving, please.
You're on, and I hope you've got the visuals, which kind of are going to guide me through. As I always say, the value of community is absolutely wonderful, and we have this opportunity to share with each other, to experience this with each other, to say a little bit about what's on our minds, and to take time to remember the truth about our lives. It's really invaluable. And what makes it possible in part is your donations. And we are so appreciative, because each one of us benefits from anything that anybody offers to One Heart, One Mind. It allows us to continue and to have a future together. And so I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart, because you helped me to experience this, and Morgan too. And we are all having a great time because of this. So remember that there are a couple ways to give. We are pushing the Venmo app because it is, if you hook it up to your bank account, everything's free, and we really love free. And the other, virtually free, if you can come up with the price of a stamp, you can send your check to Jim Massapus, and his address is available in the chat room. So we're going to do, I think there's one more slide, which is our affirmation, and it is, I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy, and it flows back to me in kind, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Rob. That was beautiful. Yvonne, are you going to give us our announcements this morning? You're muted.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
We're going to be saying that when we're 92 years old. You're muted. We have some interesting things happening this week. We have a busy week. Monday is our evening prayer group, and it's from 6 o'clock to 6:20. And it's a silent prayer by the group. And we do it because praying together amplifies the power in our prayers. And what we're doing is praying for our center, or our One Heart, One Mind center. And it's a wonderful way to start the week. It really feels good. And then on Tuesday evening, we have a Zoom meeting from 6 to 7. And Reverend Michelle will lead us in a discussion of play, imagine that, as spiritual practice. We'll explore how we can incorporate humor and play into our daily life.
Bring your jokes.
Yeah. And then Friday, let's see, well, I better tell you that Wednesday, this is the week we have Judy Hirsch. And this is going to be a wonderful presentation. It's on Wednesday, the 16th, from 6 to 7:30. And her presentation is entitled, Master Your Mind, Master Your Life. Small little thing to deal with. Judy's a certified heart math coach and trainer, and founder of Evolution Solutions, which I think is just the coolest name. Her expertise combines the science of heart and brain coherence with a holistic approach. This is a wonderful opportunity to learn from a great online experience. And I would invite a friend if you know someone who would like to come and join us. That would be really great. I think it's going to be terrific. And then Friday, I almost forgot. Friday evening is the One Heart, One Mind online cocktail party at 6 o'clock. And this is a really good social event where you can share what's happening with you and also learn what your friends are up to if you want to know. And I think that's it.
I think that is it. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then Rob, you want to do the benediction, and then we'll have our closing song from Ira and Julia.
That's a deal. Okay, so we take this moment to just relax a little bit, to feel the seat beneath us, to feel the air around us, to feel the God around us, and to know that we are one with that which is, and to be happy right now, to feel good, because we know that all is God. We come together and enjoy the opportunity to remember that all is God and therefore all is good. And because all is good, that simply means that the stuff we used to think is bad, well, guess what? It's now funny. And so all the good stuff in our lives feels good, and all the bad stuff, we used to think the bad stuff that was in our lives is a crack up. And because it's funny, that feels good too. So we have good feelings wall to wall. Life is just splendid. I am so grateful for the opportunity to live in the neighborhood of God, to live in God's neighborhood, because it's just everything is wonderful. Thank you, God, for the opportunity to remember this. Thank you, God, for the fact that I know this is true right now. And so I release my word. I let it spray across the universe and penetrate all aspects of the universe, for I know my word does not return void. I am thankful for this is the only way that God. I release my word to the universe. I let it be. I let it go. And together we say, and so it is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rob. Okay, here comes the music.
Okay, so thank you. That's
Well,
a lovely.
And we've not always been known as the Levins. We are.
We used to do children's music for a long time. We were known as Uncle I,
and
Miss Melody. And we would sing songs like Ruby the Rescue Cow. And then
And we're not just going to sing about cows. Of course, you have to sing about
Pollo
chickens.
Elastico, that's the chicken for me. He's made out of rubber and he makes me go away. That sort of thing. And there is Wilbur Rupert Rufus Gonzalez Martinez Allegro IV, the rubber chicken of freedom.
That's right.
Okay, there
He's,
you
been with us for a long time. He doesn't get to come out much. So we felt like today and that little uplift was just the perfect time for him to shine. And we're going to head back to Frank Sinatra, because this tune has been done over and over by so many people, and it's just an important message.
When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, yeah, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, will you bring on the rain? Stop that sighing. I'll be happy again. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. All right, that was the rehearsal. Here we go. You ready? When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, yeah, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, will you bring on the rain? Stop that sighing. I'll be happy again. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you.
There you go. So humor obviously
Oh.
is something that we love.
I didn't know you did children's stuff. That's so awesome. Thanks
We
for
did a lot
sharing.
of that work in California. Yeah.
Oh, That's so great. My little grandsons go to this music camp where they do all these songs in the summer. It reminds me of that. That's so great. That's wonderful.
Campus life.